So, you want to start a bait business in 2025. In this video, I'm going to be touching on 5 different topics that will help you succeed faster. Now, I'm not going to waste any time. We're just going to get straight into the video. Now, the first thing that you probably want to know and that I'm going to talk about is equipment. Now, when you're first starting off and you're lacking money, Amazon is a great place to look. Now, while Amazon is a great place to start and get some equipment, I do not recommend it for everything. Bait making is such a small niche that you're going to have a very hard time finding actually good products that you can buy. Now, when you're first starting off, you can buy molds and injectors off of Amazon that will work just fine. Now, they're definitely cheaper, and Amazon lacks many options. But if you are just looking for a few basic soft plastic bait molds, Amazon can definitely get it done. Now, while molds and injectors can be okay to buy off Amazon, I would stay away from glitter and coloring. Like I said earlier, it's very hard to find good products for bait making on Amazon as it's such a small niche. And with my experience, if you buy glitter off of Amazon, it will not be able to withstand the heat that you need to get your plastisol up to, and it will end up just burning and it will lose its color. Now, the other thing is colorant. There is many different colorants on Amazon. I am personally yet to find one that is actually designed for bait making. So that again can also be an issue. The color can burn and you can actually lose quality in your baits. Now, if you're starting and you have money that you can spend, I highly recommend going to Do It Molds. Do It Molds, you can buy molds, injectors, really anything to do with bait making. And they have plenty of variety. Now, the only downfall is, yes, it is definitely going to cost more, but the durability is unmatched. I've had molds for 3 years now, and none of them are yet to even chip or anything. When I was first starting, I actually bought off of Amazon for my molds, and while it did last for a little bit, and I was able to, make some money and sell some baits, the molds did end up snapping in half as they're just, cheaper quality. But if you do end up buying off of Do It Molds, you're buying molds that are made out of aluminum. So they're really not going to break. And, there's plenty of options that you can go to. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean you have to buy everything off of Do It Molds. Where you can save money, I highly recommend saving money. Getting into this can be fairly expensive. Molds are expensive, plastisol is expensive, but you don't have to buy everything off of Do It Molds. I really recommend buying your molds, colorant, and glitter. You can get really anything else off of Amazon. You can buy injectors, you can buy safety equipment, you can buy really anything. In another video, I will get more into equipment, but this is just, I really want to quickly touch on 5 different topics. So we're going to move right along to advertising. Now, while many people may think you have to spend money to advertise your baits, I personally don't think that's right. I've ran my business for 3 years, and while I have spent money on ads, I really haven't ever got amazing results. Yes, it's gotten me more views, more followers, more messages, but they rarely actually lead to sales in my mind. The best thing to do really is just posting on social media, whether that's, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. If you can get on social media and just post your baits, you making baits, you'll get people reaching out asking where they can buy your baits and, where you're selling. So if you want to just start on any social media posting videos, I highly recommend it. You don't need, while advertising, yes, will help you grow faster, it's not necessary. Now, another thing I found that really helps me that, yes, costs money is business cards. If you can invest in business cards, you can get 500 for about $75 off Printify. And with these business cards, if you go to vendors markets, you can, hand out your cards there. If you go to any store, really, if they have a board that, you're able to put stuff up, throw up a few business cards. I've had many people reach out to me from business cards that I put up in stores saying, I've had people buy off me from just, grabbing my business card and like ending up reaching out to me. So business cards, I think, is another great investment that it makes you look more professional and it helps you get found way easier. Now, another thing for advertising that is completely free, and I've actually had the most results with this, I highly recommend this, is getting into Facebook groups. Whether that's groups in your community or fishing groups or, anything really local to you, if you post your business in it and you're just like, even just saying a heads up like, hey, if you like fishing, I make these baits, they're cheap, they're handmade, people are going to buy. People right now want to support local. And if you're going in there and saying how, you're local, you know, you're making these handmade baits, people are going to buy them. That's where I honestly get most of my sales. Now, talking about sales, we're going to move on to number 3, which is selling. And like I said earlier, vendors markets is a great place to go. Whether you're in a small town or a big city, there's always going to be vendors markets. Whether it's a celebration for your town, they're always looking for vendors. You just have to find the right places to look. So my suggestion is definitely on Facebook. They're going to be posting. It's going to be on the news. So really just keep an eye out for vendors markets and find the people to reach out to, because if you can get in there, you're already in there with possibly thousands of customers that could buy off you. So, it doesn't even have to be something about fishing, for example. Like I went into one this year that was Canada Day, and so many people come to Canada Day things. I just sat there in a booth selling my fishing baits on Canada Day. Canada Day has nothing to do with fishing, but because there's thousands of people there, out of those thousands of people, a fraction of those people are going to like fishing, and they're going to come and, even just check out your baits and talk to you. You might learn something. I've learned plenty of stuff from just people in the community coming up and talking to me about fishing. They've given me different ideas. So I think vendors markets is a great place to sell. They can cost money. I have paid a few times to go into, getting a booth in vendors markets, but I've also had free ones. And those ones are even better. You don't have to spend any money, so then the money you make there is just straight profit. You don't have to worry about, breaking even with how much you had to pay to get in there. So vendors markets, I highly recommend getting into. Now, another thing I want to touch on, because this stressed me out for the longest time, is having a website. I have not found a good place that is actually free for a website. Many places claim to be free, but if you want to actually sell off the website, they aren't free. So you don't need a website. Yes, it definitely makes you look more professional, and it probably will get you more sales. You will be fine selling off of social media. That's just from my experience. I sell off Facebook, Instagram, Facebook groups, like I said, vendors markets, and those are just fine. Yes, you can definitely, it makes you look more professional with a website, but it is not necessary. So if you don't have a website and you don't have the money to be able to have the website, do not stress. It's not necessary. Now, another thing I highly recommend is finding stores, whether it's these big brands or they're just local stores. If you can go in there and talk to the owner about, about your business, kind of show them pictures on what you make, explain your business a little bit. I highly recommend doing that. If they say no, you've lost nothing. I've had plenty of stores that I go into and I talk about my business, and they, maybe not right now, but maybe in the future. That's all right. You're just getting experience talking to people and getting turned down. But if you just sit down and you just think of different stores that are in your area, if you can either find a phone number or an email and just email them or call them. I have I've gotten to 3 different stores just emailing places. Just, kind of being like, "Hey, if you're interested, I make these soft baits." I've sent out probably hundreds of emails to places, and yeah, most of them don't get back to you. But when you get that one or two places, that's where you can start. That's where you can start. You can start selling in mass quantities. You can start selling to stores, and then once the store sells out, you have that returning customer that isn't going to buy, just one or two packs of baits. They're going to buy 50 that they can have in their store. Now, getting into our next topic, which is designs. This is something I definitely struggled with when I first started. Coming up with what baits I thought looked nice was definitely hard, as I don't think I am that creative as a person. I have a really hard time imagining what could look good. So I highly recommend just playing around, you know, get your color and get your glitter and just kind of think what you think would look nice and try it out. If it doesn't look nice, at least now you know. But there's been plenty of times where I've just, I've been looking at my color and I've been looking at my glitter and I'm like, you know what, that might look good together. And I find something that ends up selling great or ends up catching tons of fish. So I highly recommend just playing around. If you're not that creative, just play around with it. See what works, see what doesn't work. Now, another thing that I recommend doing, and I wouldn't say it's stealing designs, but see what other people are doing and find out what's working. If you're not that creative and you can't come up with these ideas on your own, there's nothing stopping you from seeing what baits are working this year, what people are buying, what baits are catching fish. So if you can go on social media, search up soft baits, and you know what, that one looks really nice. Try making that one. If you can't come up with the ideas yourself, see what other people are doing online that you like and that you're able to make. That way you're not stuck sitting here doing nothing, wasting time, not being able to create baits because you don't have an idea. Go into stores, see what different baits are on their shelves, see what baits are selling. and end up just making those. Now, the last thing I want to touch on, and I think is personally the most important, is being different. When you are first starting your bait business and you were trying to sell baits, this is where I had the hardest time, was the difference between people ordering from you when they can just go to the store and buy them off the shelves. But what I would suggest is kind of have a selling point. Um, if it's somebody that's just into fishing, they're gonna go to the store, right? They're gonna go where it's easiest for them to buy. They don't really care if they're saving money. If they're going fishing that day and you can't have the baits made that day, then what's stopping them from just going to the store? So what I mean when I say have a selling point is you kind of want to sell yourself. You kind of want to, give a little backstory of yourself, which I found has helped me more than anything. I've done many panels, I've done classes, I've been taught a lot about kind of selling yourself to people. And while, yes, you're selling your product, you're kind of selling them the backstory of it, right? So when I say you have a soft bait business, instead of saying this, say, they're handmade, talk about yourself. Me personally, I've had plenty of luck going into these Facebook groups and saying, I'm 17 years old, I'm local in the community, I make these handmade baits, they're fully customizable, anything you can think of, I can make. People love that. People love, supporting a kid, supporting local. Even if they don't get the baits on that time. Many people that have bought from me, surprisingly, don't fish. They just want to support local. So if you're trying to find a selling point, I highly recommend doing that. Going out and just giving a backstory of yourself, telling people who you are, why you started this business, not just that you make baits and they're customizable, right? Give them a little backstory of you, why you started, who you are. I found that to help a ton. Now, while this isn't everything you need to know to start your bait business, this is stuff that I wish I knew 3 years ago when I first started my bait business. And in the future, I'm going to be touching into these topics in a longer video, but I wanted to come on and just give 5 things that I think would definitely help a beginner before starting their bait business. If you like videos like this, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.